This episode is brought to you by Battleborn Batteries, the best name in the RV and marine industry. These lithium batteries are designed and assembled in the USA, backed by a 10-year warranty. The best solution for your battery anxiety, so go check them out at battlebornbatteries.com.
You are listening to Beyond the Wheel, a podcast about the people and ideas that drive the RV community forward.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode. Today is Beyond the Wheel's 1-year anniversary, and Sean and I are taking a walk down memory lane, discussing why the show was started, and we are going to chat about each episode and discuss our favorite takeaways from each one. So let's just jump right into it.
Well, Kenny, I can't believe it's been a year already since we started this. I know that when we started, I didn't really have expectations that it would even last a year. I wasn't sure how it would work out. So it's been a surprisingly fun and busy year, actually, for the podcast. So it's been a really great start.
Yeah, I think the busy part is why it doesn't feel like it's already been a year. I think, like you said, I was just thinking this morning, knowing that we were going to record this episode today and talk about, the year and the highlight of the year. But I was just thinking back, and I started scrolling through all the episodes that we've done and had all the guests that we've had on. And I was like, man, we did an awful lot in 1 year, and we had like awesome guests all the time too. I think to pat ourselves on the back, I think we outdid ourselves.
Yeah, it's far exceeded what my expectations were. And we didn't even expect to have as many monthly views or listens as we do now. So yeah, I think a lot of it's been the guests that we've had on have been really good. And we always say whenever we hear an episode that it's our new favorite episode, just because I think our guests have been really good throughout the year. And we've just had good opportunities to meet people and talk about their businesses, which is something we both like, behind the scenes type stuff. Yeah, it's been great. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, we definitely have to give a big thanks to our guests, because they all have been really good on the show, and they've always seemed very well prepared, and they're so quick to answer our questions and have maybe not the right answer. I don't know if that would be the right way to say it, but they always have a great answer for our questions that always opened up new conversations and taken the conversations in maybe a direction that we weren't even expecting sometimes.
Yeah, and I think they're usually more prepared than we are. So,
well, I'll agree with that, but I will say that they're the one, they should be prepared, because they're talking about, for some of the, it's their babies. Some of them have been at the very start of the company, or some of them have started even the company. So
yeah, I think it's been key to get to talk to the right people in the companies that have that passion, whether they were the ones that started it or have taken it over or have a key role. I think that's made really all the difference in how good the interviews have gone.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, we were really able to get that behind the scenes look of what it took to get their companies off the ground and to the market, and what the response has been from consumers. I've been really enjoying hearing all of that stuff. And maybe I should ask you, because maybe some people do know and they don't know, but this, Beyond the Wheel podcast was your idea, and you had asked me to be part of it. What gave you the idea to come up with a podcast about the RV industry side and not the lifestyle side?
Well, I've always been interested in business, especially niche businesses like the RV industry. And I've also been a huge podcast listener for many years. I knew if I was curious about how the businesses worked and what went on behind the products, that other people might enjoy it too. So that was the whole idea behind it. And then it was just, I had to find somebody that balanced out my sort of boring tone of speech. And so when I met you at the RVE Summit a couple of years ago now, right? It's been, a year and a half probably. And I said, oh, that's the person that would be perfect for the podcast.
I always take offense when you say you're boring, because when I'm listening to the episodes, I never feel like when I'm listening to your parts that it's boring at all. I'm always interested in the questions that you come up with. I think we have a different way of speaking for sure. I'm very fast paced and all over the place, but you're very more, just more direct and to the point, but I wouldn't call that boring.
I think the best comment that we've ever received, the best feedback for me, the best feedback that we've ever received has been one of our more recent comments on iTunes. Somebody said that we balance each other out really well. And I think that is another key behind what's made doing this so much fun. And it has made it what I consider a success in the first year. And that is that we balance each other out. So it makes the show a lot better.
Yeah, I think when I listen back and like you said, from feedback, that balance, the episodes have a good amount of flow to them. And your voice compared to my voice, compared to the guest voice, I think does really break it up nicely and keeps it interesting throughout the entire hour or however long an episode may be.
Yeah, that's another thing too, is I think we're keeping them at the right length. So we're not overdoing it and we're not giving listeners too little information. I think we've really sort of found that balance. And we work a lot behind the scenes to come up with the questions that we're going to ask and do a lot of editing because we mess up a lot. So I think we do that purposefully to provide just the right information.
Yeah, I think so too. Now would be a good time too for anybody listening. Leave in the comments, what do you like about the show? What would you like to hear maybe more of or less of? Or do you have a question that maybe you wish that you could ask every person that comes on here about their business or about RVing or anything like that? We'd love to hear from you. And I think that would help us too, as the show progresses too, to constantly, maybe not constantly change it, but keep it fresh and keep it new. We don't want to keep asking. And I think we already do a pretty good job of that. We don't always ask the same questions to everybody. I know both of us, when a guest is about to come on, we go onto their websites and we research the person, we research the company, and we try to come up with questions that are designed just for that person. We do have a couple generic ones though to throw in there as well.
Yeah. So this might be a good time to jump into some of our previous episodes throughout the year and just highlight some of the cool parts of the episodes that we thought. The first episode was actually pretty cool. I was thinking about it this morning. Our first guest was RV Snap Pads. Not only were they're a really hot RV company, make a great product, but they're also, the leadership of the company is actually in Canada, even though their manufacturing and everything takes place in the US. So it was not only our first episode, but it was actually our first international guest. I thought it was really cool. The one cool thing I took away from that episode was that they had stuck with this product for like 20 years in the family. I mean, it's a family business, and they had been working to develop something like this for many, many years. They came up with this product, they started manufacturing it, and now they have multiple products and multiple designs. And it just shows that you're not necessarily going to be successful in a business right away. It took them a long time.
Yeah, a long time. Definitely not an overnight success. I enjoyed that interview too. And I remember, I don't get nervous anymore, I've realized, but I do remember being very nervous on that very first interview with Devin with SnapPad, which I'm glad now has went aside and went away. And I'm not really, I couldn't even tell you what I was nervous about, but I guess just fumbling on my words and, what would the finished product sound like? Devin was a pro with that. I think he said,
oh yeah.
I think he said that was his first podcast that he ever did. And you would never know it. He was really on point and, really helped us along for our first time.
Yeah. Yeah. And he definitely, the passion, I think, in what they were doing really, really came out. And we've had the opportunity to work with them and talk with them since then.
Yep.
And it's exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah, they're good people. And then from there, we went from like a physical product, then we went over to a digital product, which was Winnebago Life, which is like blogging. It's the #1 blog for RVers. And we talked to Brooke Baum, the editor there, and she was explaining to us why Winnebago wanted a blog, like what was so important for Winnebago to have this blog, and why did they want to try to build a community. And I write for Winnebago Life. And I remember while we were interviewing Brooke, she was talking about stuff that I didn't even know about. I was learning things. I thought, for me, I thought, well, during that interview, I was going to be on like cruise control because I already knew everything. But I didn't even realize some of the talent that we had writing for Winnebago Life, or how many articles were going out. But I was very invested in that interview. That was a good one too. And I liked the contrast. Like right off the start, we had started with a physical product and then went into a digital product. And that was one of the things that we wanted to do. We wanted to talk to people, services, and the products that they make. We wanted to try to encompass all that. So I thought that was a really good start.
Yeah. And if you look at Winnebago as a company, they really are, I think, the most customer focused RV company. They really do accept feedback from their customers and actually change products based on customer feedback. Yeah, I thought that was a great episode to really highlight that part of the company.
Yeah, I agree with you. Every time we go to a show or an event that Winnebago is at, we see the changes that they're making in their RVs based on customer response. I think they do a very good job of not just listening, but making those changes.
I'm not a Winnebago owner, but I still see it. They really are the best, I think, right now in the RV industry as far as accepting customer feedback and really seeking customer feedback and then implementing that into their products. So yeah, that was a great episode too. And we have more from Winnebago later on in the year, so we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Then our third episode is probably one of the game changer episodes for us. That was with Sean Nichols from Battleborn Batteries. He came on and talked about not only lithium batteries, but also solar and inverters and really all the components that you need to be self-sufficient or unhooked from the grid. So I thought that was a really good episode, and it actually got us a sponsorship from Battleborn Batteries, which was awesome, something we never expected. And I was just with Battleborn a couple weeks ago at the FMCA rally, and they actually recommend our podcast to people that are curious about lithium batteries. And a couple people at the FMCA rally came up and said that they were going to purchase at the show batteries based on our episode, what they learned from our episode. So I think that was good because not only was it educational about lithium, but it also is one of those companies that started in the garage and has grown into this huge company now.
Yeah, that was an incredibly educational episode for me because before that episode, I didn't really know a whole lot about batteries, and I probably never really thought too much about the batteries, except for the fact that I had to keep on maintaining them, doing the work on them every month, making sure the levels were full and stuff like that. But man, Sean taught me so much during that episode, and then I remember listening back to it after you take it and you edit it, and then I listened back to it, and I thought to myself while listening to it, I was like, this is exactly what Sean, and I are trying to do. This is a game changer type of podcast for me. That episode was the episode that I realized that we are doing something different. This isn't really so much the lifestyle, but we're getting an in-depth view of what it took to build this company. They're starting out in their garage, what they did for marketing and for testing and quality control and the education of how the battery works and how a lithium battery is different than a lead acid battery. And man, that episode just blew me away. And that was the episode when I listened to it, I was like, man, Sean and I are onto something. We got something going on here. It was really good.
Yeah, that was a really good episode. And I'm glad they still recommend it to people who are curious about the batteries and how the batteries work and what they can learn from that episode. But aside from that, I just thought it was cool to hear the story too about how they started in their garage. They met in business school, started in their garage, and it's grown into this huge company.
Yeah. It's. I hate to say that I have a favorite, but it is definitely one of my top shows. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, me too. And then our episode after that, I guess we should let people know that we purposely designed the flow of the episodes so that we would do 3 podcasts with business, some RV type of business, and then one would be just the two of us
Yeah.
talking about various subjects. So that's kind of the flow of how it goes, and we've maintained that since the beginning. And I really enjoy doing the episodes when it's just the two of us. So yeah, that's a fun part of it too, just to get to talk about RVing, because I know Julie doesn't like to sit and talk about RVing all the time. It's good to have somebody that you can just sit and BS with.
And I think because both of us are so involved with the RV industry as well, when we're chit-chatting on those episodes that don't have guests, there's usually a lot that's going on my side with Sabrina and I, and then there's a lot going on your side. I think they're always fun for us just to sit and chat about what's going on and then share it with everybody else too. Hopefully some of them are even educational too. I'm sure they are.
Well, they're educational to me. I mean, I learned all about e-bikes from that one episode we talked about your new e-bike. They're educational for me, so hopefully, yeah, people do get something out of them.
Yeah.
If not, just some entertainment value anyway.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of everything.
Then we went from 2 actual products to sort of an e-business with the Winnebago Life. And then we did our first campground, which was Four Paws Kingdom, which I thought was an incredible episode. I mean, I know we're saying that a lot, but this one was definitely one of my favorites. The owners were just so much fun.
Yeah, they were great.
And, that's such a unique campground in North Carolina there that really puts the focus on the pets. They designed that whole business around pets.
Yeah.
And letting pets have fun on vacation.
Yeah, I think the way they word it, like the campground or the resort is designed for pets, and the pets are allowed to bring their human companions with them. I mean, and it really is set up that way. I mean, this is a campground. I've never seen it since, where you can park your RV, open your door, and you have a private yard for your dogs to play in. Like, I've never seen that anywhere, but it's such a great idea. And so many people in the RV world, I mean, they travel with dogs. It's a very popular pet to have, is definitely to have a dog with you. And then they have the 8 different parks, the pond, the exercising parks, leisure park, and just all kinds of dog parks.
And one thing I thought was unique with them, and a big risk that they took that I might not have taken myself, was that they made it no children allowed, just so they could cater to all breeds of dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge, and it worked out for them, and they really talked us through it and about why they made some of the decisions they made to really focus on the pets, and booked months in advance, I think.
It is.
So
it's tough.
They really made it successful.
Yeah, it's tough to get in there. It's tough to get a reservation. Again, that was another episode that really gave us that behind the scenes look, because the two of them work so hard at the campground. You think, I'm going to buy a campground probably, and I'm just going to start raking in the money. But they work long shifts every day. Not only are they working in the office, but they're out. They're doing raking, and they're running the heavy equipment for the gravel and the stone work. They're making new trails at the park. It is not a sit back and relax type of position.
Yeah.
But they really enjoy it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They really love it. So it's good for them.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that episode. They were fun people to talk.
There was a lot of laughing on that one.
Yeah.
And then I think our next episode, was it with Tom at JG Lubricants?
Yeah.
Correct? Yeah. That was a good one too. It was something that I had done on my RV before we had interviewed Tom. And it was a fluid analysis where we could take a look. I pulled samples from my engine and transmission and oil from the generator, and I was able to send it into him. I actually just ordered another kit this morning, forgetting.
Oh.
Yeah, I just ordered it today. So I'm going to test our transmission again, the engine, and our coolant this time. But our RV's getting up there in miles. It's got like 60-some thousand miles. We've been sitting for a little bit, but we're about to do a ton of miles again. And I just want to make sure everything's looking good. And then, like I said, 60,000 miles. I'm curious about that transmission fluid. I could probably look it up and see when I'm supposed to change it, but I would rather have the fluid analysis tell me if it really does need to be changed or not.
After that episode, I ordered a kit from Tom, and I found a problem with my coolant system.
Yeah, that's right.
Based on his analysis. So my coolant wasn't due to be flushed or changed yet, and I went ahead and did it based on that analysis. So it really is an effective product, I think.
Yeah, no, and I think we talked about it as being like similar, like when we were talking to Tom about being similar to having blood work done. And like you just said, you saw that there was issues with your coolant, so you flushed it and changed it and replaced it so that down the line, 1,000 miles from now, 2,000 miles down the road, you're not going to run into some type of big issue. You caught it early, and you were able to handle it. So
when he started that business, I think it was really the only people that were doing that sort of exclusively for RVers.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And then we moved into our first business run by full-time RVers, which was Eric and Tammy from Techno RV.
Yeah.
And since we talked to them, they actually started another business called Techno Trucker.
Yep, which I think he hinted at during our episode.
Yeah, he hinted at that, and now that's out. Again, they told us the whole backstory of how they were working in a corporate environment and how they found this business that they could do from the road. Funny people to talk to.
Yeah, that was.
And it was just a great episode, and again, deep behind the scenes look at how it got started and the reasons why they chose to pick this business to do.
Yeah, and I thought their business was very interesting too, because it was a business that had already started. They found it online some way. He goes into more detail of how they found it, and then they purchased the business as it was already up and running, making a little bit of money, but then they took it and they really devoted their time and poured in a lot of effort into it to turn it into even a better, bigger, stronger business, which I found really interesting.
Yeah, again, it's not another one of those lessons that you can have a business, but it's not easy to make it successful. It takes a lot of work. It's not just sitting back and letting things happen.
And I believe that they put a lot of risk into starting that business as well.
Yeah, and I think recently they just opened a new warehouse and new offices for their employees. So definitely growing, and a really good episode to listen to see how it's done.
Yeah, it was fun. That was a good one. And then we jumped into another, I guess, an online service, GoPetFriendly.com with Amy Burkert. I really enjoyed that too, because when I think of GoPetFriendly.com, I think of this like a massive amount of workforce. And I was so shocked when Amy said, well, it's really just me. At the time, she just recently hired a couple freelance type of work to help with blogging and stuff like that. But for the most part, 90 to 95% of the company is just her all by herself, living in, she lives in the RV. And building this database for people to be able to travel with pets. And yes, she does live in an RV, but it's for more than just RVers. It's anybody that has a pet and they want to travel. It's finding the hotels that are pet friendly, and restaurants and parks and just everything. And then she talked about how she got started with writing her book, and why that was so important, and I was going to say the struggle, but what went into trying to write a book, and how she, in her mind, she thought, oh, I got all these blogs, I'm just going to turn them into a book. And she thought it would be real simple, but it wasn't. It wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. So that was a really fun story too.
Like the Four Paws Kingdom, they really are passionate about pets.
Yeah, very.
And so it's a very good business for Amy to have. And I know her husband helps her out a little bit, but he also does his own business.
Yeah,
so.
he says he doesn't help. Every time I ask her, do you do anything for GoPet? She's like, nope. And he also is very proud to say that he has never driven the RV either.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, she talked about that on the episode. Yeah. And their RV is hard to miss because they got it wrapped in Go Pet Friendly, probably one of the most unique paint schemes on an RV out there. So they're hard to miss when you see them.
Yeah, it's cool.
And actually, the funny story with that episode is right before we recorded it, we had already booked her as a guest, and Julie and I pulled into this small RV park down in Big Bend, Texas, where nobody would think of running into anybody else. And they were parked there a couple sites down from us. So that was really cool.
Small world. It's unbelievable how that happens, where you just run into people and then maybe you'll run into them even again. Yeah.
And right before the Go Pet Friendly episode, we did another company that's sort of unique to travel trailers, and that is Hitchport. He's just again, a small family business, mostly him and his wife. They were tired of lifting up all the pieces for the tow bars and such for hitching up travel trailers. So he designed a new product to make that easier for storage and for moving, and a unique product that I probably would have never thought of.
Yeah.
Very simple product, very inexpensive, but works great for owners of travel trailers.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. What I loved about that product is just what you said. I mean, it's as simple as it could be, but it works so well that it doesn't need to be. These products don't always need to be complex and overthought and over-designed. But yeah, they're just little brackets, and you're able to screw them onto the tongue of the A-frame. What I liked about that interview too is when we were booking them, and we said, oh, our episodes usually last 45 minutes. He's like, I don't know how we're going to get that. He said, I don't think I have that much to talk about. But you and I together, I mean, we were able to come up with questions that he probably wasn't even thinking would be interesting, but it was a great episode.
And I think the other memory I have of that episode is that was the first guest we had that asked us to be on the show. That was a big moment in our Beyond the Wheel business.
Yeah, that somebody found us and was like, hey,
yeah.
That was still relatively early on, maybe halfway through our first year, but that somebody had actually found us and contacted us instead of the other way around was definitely a big deal for us.
And then after Go Pet Friendly was a business that I absolutely love after getting it, which I had it before we talked to them, was Micro Air and the Easy Start product for the RV air conditioners. I think we're both curious about why air conditioning companies, manufacturers, don't automatically add this onto the ACs, but they don't. And this company came up with a way to allow you to run your AC for a short period of time off of your inverter and solar panels and batteries. It was a cool product, one that is needed if you're going to do any sort of off-grid camping in the hot weather.
We have it on our AC unit, and I'd like to say that we don't use it too much off-grid, but we like it on-grid because at night with the AC running all night, we don't hear it kick on and kick off. It doesn't have that harsh, loud bang. It's actually one of the things that I love the most about it. We were actually having some service done recently, and the guy was checking our generator and AC, and he's like, I don't hear your AC kicking on. And I said, oh, that's because we have a Micro Air Easy Start. He's like, I have no idea what that is. I said, well, it's usually made for like off-grid purposes that you can start your AC off of a 3,000 watt inverter. He's like, that's genius. He's like, I didn't know something like that existed. He's like, I'm in here listening, and I never hear your compressor kick on, but I have my meter set up and I can see it dropping down or kicking on through the meter. He's like, but I never heard it kick on. I was like, I know, it's great.
Yeah. And although they don't make the claim that it actually helps the longevity of the compressor, I can't help but think that it does, just because it doesn't have that jerky, rapid start.
Yeah, it's a harsh start without one. There's almost like a bang to it. I agree. I know they say that they have no proof of it helping the longevity, but like you said, I can't imagine that it doesn't for that reason.
Yeah.
What was next, Sean?
We had wholesale warranties, and that was, I think, another company that actually contacted us about coming on the podcast.
Yeah, I think you're right. And they were really good too. They were big time eye openers for me.
Very educational.
Yeah, they were really good on the show. Like you said, educational. And I think the thing that grabbed me like right away was extended warranty. And I believe that I'm saying this right, that wholesale warranty said that they could put a warranty on a vehicle that was like 20 years old even. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And that blew me away. I was like, oh, I thought for sure it couldn't be more than just a few, I was thinking a couple years, because, you figure your warranty that comes with a brand new RV, 1 year is pretty standard. If you're lucky, maybe you'll get a 2 year, but these guys are offering extended warranties on vehicles that are 20 years old. I'm like, man, they're taking that's a big risk right there in my book. But
and the other thing that I thought was neat about them is if you're thinking about buying an RV, particularly a used RV, I think if you are thinking about getting a warranty through them for that, they'll pay for the inspector to come out and take a look at the RV. That episode, even if you're not considering an extended warranty this moment in time, it's good to listen to just for the education about how these products work and what coverages you should be seeking.
Yeah.
It was just a again, much like the Battleborn episode, it was very educational.
So now is it Jamie?
Now it's Jamie, yes, the first Jamie episode.
Yeah, so we had Jamie Sorensen on the show, and we actually have Jamie on twice now. He was such a great guest, we brought him back. But Jamie works for Winnebago. He was doing the specialty vehicles, which is why he came on the first time, which are the accessibility enhanced vehicles. And Winnebago, things that we learned was that, one, Winnebago was doing it for 40 years. We had no idea that they were making vehicles like that for so long. But he was really coming on the show to let us know that they were making them available for dealer stock, and that you would now be able to like walk into a dealer and actually see it in person and have this built and buy it. Because before that, the wait time was over a year. If you wanted to get started in RVing, and if you were in a wheelchair or something like that, you had a long time to wait before you could have this product designed and made. And now, because of the dealer stock option, you could walk right into a dealership and pick one up off the lot. I know that you and I really enjoyed it because we were like, now Winnebago's trying to make RVing for everybody, make it accessible for everybody. They still had the option, if the one on the lot did not work, that they still could make the custom ones for you as well. That was still an option. It's not like they did away with the custom ones and we're just doing dealer stock. They can still make you one if you need it.
As part of that episode, when we went to the RVX show in Salt Lake City, is that where it was? Salt Lake City?
Yep, Salt Lake City, Utah. That was a lot of fun too.
Yeah, we actually got to get a tour with Jamie of the accessibility enhanced Forza, was it?
That was the Forza 34T, yeah.
And that thing was awesome. I think
so nice.
It's one of my favorite RVs.
I remember saying to Jamie, I'm like, these features that you're putting in these RVs, I would like some of these features. It had the huge bathroom.
The shower was humongous.
It was like a spa in there. It was easier, to get around the bed. That the dining table that kind of slid out and made room for somebody to be able to use their wheelchair at the end of the table. But I was like, well, this would be nice just to add more chairs. And
the cover over the stairs where you enter.
Yeah, that was nice.
Actually made more floor space.
Yep, and that was another thing that's very simple. But man, what a difference! You have a little bit of extra floor space now. It was good. It was nice meeting him in person. It was great to have him on the show. I really enjoyed that episode a lot. And we did bring him. Yeah. And we did bring him back again to talk about the all-electric vehicles, which is an episode that you and I think, looked forward to
for months.
For a very long time. I think when we were finishing up the interview with him the first time, we said, "Oh, we would like to have you come back on for the all-electric vehicle," and he was like, "Oh, sure." And you and I were like, "Oh, we're coming up with questions right away." And I think even at the show when we saw him at Salt Lake City, we started asking him questions in person about the all-electric vehicle, and then we were like, "Oh, well, maybe we should save some of these for the actual show." But I think we asked him about 12 questions in person.
Yeah. And I think the thing with that electric vehicle is, even though it's not for recreational vehicle use yet, Winnebago really is making a lot of progress on perfecting that all-electric capacity.
Yeah.
So I think soon we'll be able to see it in recreational vehicles because, right now they're using it for blood donations, a lot of different medical uses. I think they also have some educational vehicles for like classrooms and things. So again, that episode on the electric vehicle I thought was very educational as well, about how they're building it and what modifications they're having to make to get the chassis built right for that. Again, one of my favorites.
It was cool also to see all the partnerships involved. It was a partnership with Ford and with Motive, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And now they're partnering up with BMW for a different style battery and pushing things a little further. And like you said, it might not be for recreational use today, but because they're doing all this on that commercial end, you're right. I agree that we will see it in the recreational side as well.
It's also good that's also a good episode, like you said, because he talks about the partnerships and he talks about the challenges that they had with making it. Mm-hmm. That it just goes to show all the work that goes into making some of these vehicles for us to go out and play with.
Yeah,
Basically.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of prep time that goes involved, and that's true for I think for everybody that we talk to. It's very surprising to hear how much prep time goes into a product before we even get to see the first rendition of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah. And then probably our most unique interview, and I think the first interview that we ever did together in person, actually sitting side by side,
Yeah.
was with Toby, the CEO of KOA, when we were at the RVX.
Yep.
And that was just, I don't even know how to explain it. I mean, we were just sitting on the floor in the KOA booth at RVX and having a conversation. And it was almost like we had talked to her several times before.
Yeah, it was a very relaxed setting. It's actually my favorite episode because we did get to do it together in person, and that never happens. It hasn't happened since. It never happened
Yeah.
before. So I enjoy just sitting with you and actually, and having the guests too with us.
Yeah.
All at the same time. The kicker for me is definitely that we have the CEO of KOA sitting on the floor, like sitting at the RVX show. But she was so great to have on. She was so relaxed, and like you said, it did feel like a conversation with somebody that we've spoken to before, and we'd never met her until that day. And
yeah, like 5 minutes before we started the interview.
yeah, and we never talked to her before that day, and even all of our emails with KOA weren't with her, they were with somebody else. So I mean, that was right there was the first time we ever met her, saw her, spoke to her, and it went so well. It was just so fun.
And what I learned from that episode, I always try and take something away from all of our episodes, and that one was how much KOA is doing not only to accommodate more RVers, but also other types of campers, like tent campers and motorcycle campers.
Yeah, and for me, I didn't realize that the campgrounds and KOA were concerned with the environmental impact as well. You know, that they were building sites that have shade with panels, and the panels would be solar, and to be thinking that far ahead too with their interactiveness of the campground, being able to maybe make it more comfortable for people by ordering things on their website, and you would have your products instead of going to the camp store and picking up your firewood, and it would just be there waiting for you when you arrived, when you checked in.
Yeah, and then I guess the other thing that I learned that I should have already known for as long as I've been RVing is that there's 3 different types of KOAs. And the amenities differ based on the classification of the KOA. I never knew that.
I thought that was good too, because they made a different type of campground for every type of travel, whether you're on a long haul trip and you just need that one little quick overnight stay. If you're looking for a destination type of thing where you want to be there and have that real resort feel like you had at Tucson, with the bar and the hot tubs and the pool and the restaurant. I mean, just everything that you could ever want to do, be in that spot. And then they have a little bit of something that's like in between that, you got the pool and hot tub, but maybe you don't have the ar. I think it's cool that they offer so many different choices.
That was, definitely in my top 25 episodes.
The way to put it. Off the market.
And then after that, we had on a unique business that has been family run for many, many years, and that was the Escapees organization. And we actually had on Travis and Melanie Carr, just talking about the history of Escapees, about why it started and how it started with their grandparents, how they worked in the company and eventually were able to take over the leadership. Very interesting to hear the history of that company and all the years that it's been going on.
Yeah, I really like that one a lot too, especially the starts of it, how it just was a newsletter to begin with, and that is it. That's all Escaping was when they first started. It was just a newsletter, and now to go from that to what they are today with all the services they provide, and then not just the service they provide, but they go to battle, in a sense, I guess, for the RVers with legislation and make sure that land is not being taken away, and really fight for the RVers. It's an amazing company. It's an amazing.
And you're a good company when people are getting your company logo tattooed on their body. I know several people that have escapers tattoos
I didn't know that.
now. So it just goes to show that you are a very big influence in the industry when people are getting your company tattooed on their body.
Yeah, that's a new one for me. I didn't know that, Sean. I don't think that was brought up in the interview, but now
It wasn't.
I wish it was. What was next after that? Was it Jason and Rose from Better For Your?
It was Hutch Mountain.
Oh, okay.
Clayton Hutchinson, who we met at Quartzsite. He does this really cool thing where he can take a Honda generator, and he made a conversion kit that will allow it to run off of propane. So it's more environmentally friendly. It's actually a little bit less expensive, and you don't have that generator smell when you're running it. I know that's a big problem at a lot of campsites. If your neighbor's running one of those portable Honda generators, you can smell the fumes. I remember, Kenny, at Quartzsite, you were actually standing right behind the generator and couldn't smell it at all.
I couldn't smell it at all. I mean, we were outdoors, but even still, I couldn't smell it. That also transfers to the idea that it's burning cleaner, so it's not gumming up your carburetors or anything like that. So it's on like increase or decrease the amount of maintenance needed and probably increase the life of the generator. I thought that was a very cool, very creative fix. It also solved an issue of gasoline goes bad. And if you're using your generator as a backup emergency and it's filled with gas and everything and your gas goes bad, that your generator won't start. And I never even really thought about that too much, but he's right. It would cause that, but the propane won't do that. So when you need that generator to work, it's going to work.
You don't have to worry about carrying gas cans. I mean, almost every RV, unless you have one of those high-end all-electric RVs, almost every RV has propane.
Yeah.
And again, this was a business that he took a risk and created this product. And it's a growing business catering to not only RVers, but he talked a lot about ice fishing and other areas where this could be applicable.
Yeah, that was a good episode. And that was another episode that was a lot of fun for us because that was at the RVX also. And when I sat down, we were at a table and talked to Clayton. So that was fun just to be together in that room.
Then it was Better For Your.
Now it's Better For Your. Okay. So then we spoke with Jason and Rose from Better For Your. And they make, actually I'm drinking out of it right now, they make, I always have this mug with me.
Yeah.
Well, this one's the tumbler, but I have a tumbler and I have their mug. They make stainless steel drinkware, and you would think, oh, what's the big deal? It's just a mug or a cup. But man, Sean, remember how much detail went into and how much thought went into the cups and how the cup felt on your lip and how much it should be shaved to and what it should be the diameter of when you grab and hold the cup, how tall it should be, the weight, the fact that it's like hollow inside for that insulation. I was completely blown away when Jason was talking about all this. I was like, man, I thought this was just a cup.
It's incredible how much information he gave us about all of the details that go into making a cup.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, unbelievable. The handle and how the handle shape should be and where your fingers and the welding and it was ridiculous actually, just how much went into it.
And this could be a company that's completely, I know some people are saying, well, how's that related to RVing? It basically can replace all your other drinkware. It's never going to go bad. It's pretty lightweight. It does, it keeps things hot and cold. And they really love the RV industry. They live in Australia, but they come to the U.S. and rent an RV and travel the country. So they just really love the RV industry and have connected with several RV organizations and really are advocates for RVing. Again, interesting company.
Yeah, and I think it's a great product for RVing. Ray and I both like the mugs a lot, and like you said, they're lightweight, they're very durable. I know weight is something that we just had our RV weighed the other day, and we're actually luckily 500 pounds underweight, but that's not always the case. So, the fact that they're light, and then not only that, if to go on hiking with the cup, you can kind of clip it to your waist, and the cup being so light, you don't even know it's there.
Yeah, that was a very technical interview.
It was
and very educational on what goes into cup manufacturing.
Yeah, and
So
and they were a little different too because they used that Amazon FBA program. They're manufacturing it, and then Amazon. I don't even, to be honest, I would have to go back and listen to the episode again because I can't remember all the details of how that program worked and how an Amazon company operated.
yeah, and that was our longest episode as well.
Yeah, well, there's a lot in that one.
Yeah,
There's a lot of detail in that episode.
it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun talking with them.
It's funny too, because Rose had said, "Oh, she didn't say this in the interview. She said this privately or separately. She said, "Oh, I just love that American accent," because Jason and Rose they're in Australia, and she's like, compared to our boring way of speaking. I was like, "You got to be good, guys. You guys sound awesome."
Then we talked with RV with me.
Well, RV with me to me was a very unique service because he was providing not just locations. It would make it a little easier to find campsites to stay, but he was also providing areas where somebody would have an RV and you could kind of rent out their RV almost like an Airbnb. You would contact that person, they would have the RV in a location already. You would just drive your car to it and rent out their RV for the weekend or week. I thought it would be a great way for people to almost like do test runs with RVing. If they've never done it before, be like, oh, I can test out this RV. I wouldn't have to have the stress of driving it or setting it up, or it'd be in its spot. You'd have to dump the tanks and stuff. I didn't know that, but at least you didn't have to tow it behind you, or if it was a Class A, or try to maneuver it down streets if you're unweary of it. And I thought it was a pretty cool service.
Yeah, and if I remember right, the owner of RV with me, he had owned a golf course or two. Yeah. He sold them, and he just decided to start up this website with this service, and it started growing.
Yeah, because it is very frustrating to try to book campsites online. You usually have to call or leave an email, and then they get back to you. But his site allows you to connect with the campgrounds and make the reservations all online and make it a little more streamlined, a little easier. Golf courses, wineries, farms.
Okay, so after RV with me, we had on another very cool product that was started by a young man who was actually given this idea by a family friend. He just took off running with it, and that was Trailer Valet.
Well, I remember we saw him, the first time we'd ever seen this was at the RVX show. We were walking by and he was operating this small little, what looked like a tank, but it was towing a trailer, but it was so little. I mean, it was the size, a little bigger than a shoebox, but it was towing around this little travel trailer. And we stopped and had to talk to him about it and ask him all about it. And then we learned that they did more than just that. They had, I think it was called the XL Pro. I can't describe.
They're hard to describe them, but it really makes the weekend RVer, the part-time RVer, it really makes their life much easier when it comes to storing their RV at their house or in tight places or having to move it and be able to see all around you, because this product really makes it easier than having it hooked up to your vehicle and backing it around.
Yeah, I think it made it safer as well. I like the way that it connects and sets up. And like you said, that it gives you a very good visual view of where you're moving it.
And I think he said it was able to, the one that's motorized was able to go up some ridiculous incline, steeper than we would have thought.
And it didn't even have to be smooth. It could be gravel or up,
that's right.
Pretty amazing. What, man, people out there are just way smarter than me. I don't know how they think of these things.
And the cool thing that I thought was, like I said, a family friend gave him this idea.
Yeah.
And he made a whole company out of it.
He just ran with it. Yeah, I thought that was very cool too. Another application, I wonder how, we should have asked him, I guess, but I didn't think of it at the time, but I just saw somebody here at the campground that we're at. They're towing their car on a dolly. After they get the car off the dolly, they unhitch the dolly from the RV and then move the car in front of the dolly and then use the car to move the dolly. You know what I mean? Like, they're really doing a lot of connecting and unconnecting. I never even thought about how people move these dollies these car dollies afterwards.
Yeah, and a lot of time they make you can't leave them in the same spot as your RV, so you have to push them off somewhere separate. Yeah, that's a good point.
They had to bring this one over off to the edge of the campground. They weren't allowed to have it at their site. So yeah, just like you said, I would imagine that their product would work for something like that too, because it worked for not just the RV industry, but for boat, anything with a trailer, the car trailers, all types of trailers. Yeah. It was a pretty cool product. Who did we have on after that, Sean? Your memory's better than mine.
Joe Russo.
Joe. Oh, I liked having Joe on. That was a lot of fun. And I think a lot of people, when they hear the name Joe Russo, if they don't connect it right away, he's from We're the Russos, and they have a popular YouTube channel. He wasn't on to talk about the YouTube channel. He came on as an author, and I don't think this is something that everybody knows, but he had written one book already, and he was in the process of releasing his second book. I know I read the first book and found it very inspirational. And the book is about RV life, what motivated them to get into the RV. And I just thought their story was very inspirational and very helpful to other people that are thinking about RVing. But he came on and really talked about, again, like the behind the scenes of what it took to write that first book, what he learned from the first book and applied to the second book. He talked about marketing and how the editing process was so different from the first one to the second one, because the first one, his wife did all the rereads and editing, so then he was like, it was driving her nuts, I guess. So then the second one, he hired somebody, and how do you know who to hire? And he had a lot of great information on the strategies and tips for a first-time writer compared to a seasoned writer, and he was just fun to have on. We did a lot of laughing with Joe.
And I think the cool thing about that episode, the one thing that I took away from it as sort of a learning principle, was the importance of a mentor, because he said he had been working on that book, the first book, like toying with it for a while. Mm-hmm. And then he met somebody who sort of took him under his wing, and he ended up writing the book very quickly after he met that person. I think that shows the importance that, you can't, sometimes it's not possible to do it all on your own. You need a little extra motivation or education to get something like that going. And I remember him saying, I think it was like within 90 days or something after meeting with that other writer, he finished that first draft of the first book.
Yeah, I think that was a real game changer for him. And that's a good point where you said, you can't always do everything on your own. And I think that's something that he learned on the second book also, because the first book, him and Kate did everything on their own. And on the second book, he did hire help.
Yeah, so even something that you think is a one-person job, like writing a book, it really does take a team of individuals to make it successful.
Yeah, definitely.
And then we talked to Jamie again, and we've discussed the electric vehicle episode, which I'm sure we'll have Jamie on again because he's just a lot of fun to talk to. Then our last guest for the year was Protang, the fire suppression product. This product was actually born out of the race car industry as a way to help put out fires in race cars. They found the application worked for different parts of the RV. So we have these propane refrigerators that are prone to fires, inverters, our engine compartments, lots of different areas where you could have a fire. And this product is sort of, I think of it as a set it and forget it type of product. I mean, you install it, and it's a special type of chemistry that expands as it heats up, and it's in a plastic tube. Once it gets hot enough, that plastic tube ruptures and puts out the fire.
Takes care of it immediately. And the thing that I like the most about it is that it's something that you don't even need to be aware of or be there for it. There's no gravity.
Yeah.
Everything's automated. And it's, again, another very simple design. It's not like it's mechanical or anything like that. It's just, you listen to the episode and you'll hear more about it. But it's just so great that it'll work if you're sleeping. It'll work if you're away from the RV. It just works all, whenever it needs it.
It's great if you have, like if you have Belle and you and Sabrina run out and Belle's home and something happens, it takes a little bit of worry away. So that was our year, Kenny.
Yeah, that's amazing, I think.
Not a bad episode in the bunch so far. We've learned something from each episode.
Yeah, it's my favorite thing about doing the show is just how much we learn. And I also feel like, because we're talking with these people, like we almost got our fingers on the pulse, and sometimes we know about products that are coming down or maybe just about to get popular, like this Pro Tank. It's very new, very, very new to the market. The Trailer Valet is very new to the market. I'm trying to think of some of the other things that were I think even Battleborn batteries was still very, very new.
Very new.
They are, and they're a hot item right now. I mean, they're like, everybody talks about Battleborn batteries now. Everywhere we go, we see them. And so it's just a lot of fun to see everything that's going on in the RV world. And it's amazing just how much is going on. Like, that was our first year, and we had the 24, 25 episodes. And we already got great guests lined up to start our new year. So it's just amazing how much goes on in all the products out there, services and things like that. And I love learning. It's got to be my favorite thing is just learning about it all. It's really cool. Well, we hope everybody enjoyed the episode, and we will catch you next time.
Safe travels, everyone.
This episode is brought to you by Battleborn Batteries, the best name in the RV and marine industry. These lithium batteries are designed and assembled in the USA, backed by a 10-year warranty. The best solution for your battery anxiety. So go check them out at battlebornbatteries.com.